Hey, I'm Zachary Liao, and I'm the founder of Force to Flow, and I help people close the gap between who they really are and how they're actually living. And I want to talk about exactly that today, because I have been reading and listening to Eckhart Tolle, specifically his Power of Now material. He has a short and condensed version, which they just released on Spotify. I highly recommend listening to it if you have Spotify. And then they have a full book and a physical copy of the smaller book, The Power of Now and Practicing the Power of Now, that you can buy anywhere. But I've just been exposed to this material, but I feel like what it's doing is putting language on my life and my experience that I didn't have before. I feel like I've had experience of the now, the power of now, but I haven't actually known how to talk to people about it. So I'm not going to rehash all of his information about, the books or anything like that, but I will tell you my personal experience. And these concepts, these ideas are 100% coming from, that space, that those ideas, which honestly are not new ideas even to Eckhart Tolle. I think Ram Dass talks about, being here now, and Jesus and Buddha and all these different people. And wisdom traditions, they have an understanding of what it means to be in the present and what that will do for your life. And for years and years and years, I've intellectually known about being present because I've just floated around in circles where that's a thing. I worked at a place called One, and really what I helped people do was connect with God in the now moment. And so I have experience witnessing the now moment. I have brief moments where I felt like I was in the now moment, but I hadn't understood that it was a state that you can live in, a state that brings the peace that passes all understanding that Jesus talks about. It's the state that brings you enlightenment. It's the state that I think all of these things are pointing to, and it's achievable. And I had that experience, if you go back to my first video, which is just like my story, I had that experience back in the fall where I felt like the oneness of everything. I felt God kind of emanating from the trees and from even like the desk in front of me, like emanating from everything. And I had like a week of just like that experience and didn't have language for it. And I realize that it was the now. I was so present. I was so aware of only the present moment that I could see the essence of things. And I just want to talk about how, I've been going after, who am I? Who am I really? Like, what's the truth? Like, I've just been seeking that my whole life. And when I think about my journey of seeking, in the beginning of the journey, I was very much like in the past. I was very much concerned about the things that I had done, or the things that I was doing, and then rehashing it over and over again, and judging it as then I need to change this. This is bad, and there's tons of shame and tons of guilt and all sorts of stuff. I was like constantly, my anxiety came from me being almost solely in the past and feeling like a victim to it, feeling really like I have no control over myself, no self-control. I'm powerless. And my anxiety, and I didn't realize this at the time, I wouldn't have said anxiety at the time, but I was very anxious. I was very concerned about how I was living my life and especially things I had done. And there was a point in time where I started to learn how to look at myself with a little bit less judgment. And I started to accept myself. Which actually helped me a ton. It was massively instrumental in me making strides in, I guess, my healing, and coming to a place where I'm like, okay, like Zach's cool. I can be okay with myself. And once I did that, I started thinking more about the future. And what I did was I traded the past for the future. And I didn't know this. Obviously, all of this is just subconscious, But as I began to accept myself, I started to look within, and I started to see the desires of my heart. I started to see the passions. Like, I love music, I love entrepreneurship. Like, I knew those were in there, and to varying degrees, I started to pursue these things. And the one that I pursued, I'd say the most in the past few years, where that shift kind of happened, was music. And so I started putting everything that I had in music, and all of my hope, all of my passion, like all of my energy was in music, and ultimately in the future of music doing something for me. And that dream's not gone away, but what I realize now, looking back, is that I've spent the past 3 years creating my own suffering by not accepting the moment I was in and only dreaming about the future. And when I think about it, I get kind of emotional, because my dark night, my dark night of the soul, the spiral of depression that I talk about in my first video, I realized I, in a way, created for myself, because I was looking at something in the future, a state, an imaginary state, a projection of my imagination in my mind into the future, and treating it as it's like, that is what's real, that is what is, and thought that would like manifest it into my life, but all it did was pull me out of the present moment. And I started rejecting the present moment, like unconsciously, but actively denying the present moment. And it caused so much suffering for me, because I was just slowly losing who I really am in the future this time, instead of the past. And so what I'm talking about really is being present, being in the now moment, which, as I've read some of the material, from Eckhart Tolle, I've started to understand my experience in the last fall, which was that experience of just being now. And I'm starting to experience it somewhat again. And I go in and out of this, but I'm at least able to be in a position where I can watch my stream of consciousness. I can watch my thoughts, and I can say, oh, look, there's a thought about the future. There's a thought about not liking the present moment that I'm in. And, or there's even a thought about the past, and there it goes. Like being able to remain in the state of the watcher, or of that meditative state where you're aware of thoughts kind of going by like clouds in the sky, which is like kind of a Zen Buddhist idea in imagery. But being in that state is in a way being in the now, and being connected, being conscious. And so ultimately, now and consciousness are kind of synonymous. But what the conclusion, I guess, that I've come to, and I think this is what Eckhart Tolle is kind of saying, is time is an illusion. The past and the future are not real. They're both, it's memory and anticipation, or projection, I think is a better way to probably put it. It's like the memories, like we know from research and things like that, like our memory isn't perfect. Like the things that we store in our brains about what's happened to us is not totally accurate, and it can actually change and morph over time based on, specific scenarios and things like that. And the same thing for the future. Like, we have no idea what's going to happen in the future. I have no idea what's going to happen in the next minute. And actually, Eckhart Tolle specifically talks about looking into, I guess, the future, or doing this little exercise, basically, which is like, quiet yourself and try to think, what is the next thought? Think about what's the next thought that's going to come into your brain. Like, guess it. And if you do that, you realize, you realize you're not really thinking about anything. You're waiting for a thought. It's a taste of the now, the present moment. But two, you also realize it's impossible. You don't know what's going to come next. And that's how illusory, like, the past and the future actually are. And what it really does when we're in the past and the future, at least what it does for me, is it keeps me stuck. Because now, that in-between moment, which is something I said a couple of videos ago, the in-between moment is the only place that things can actually change. And so the more time I spend in the future or the past, the past or the future, however you want to do it. I don't know how I've been using my hands lately. The less capable you are of actually making real change in your life. And so I can see how my experience in the fall of being now, right, has shifted actual action in changing my life. Whereas before I felt stuck, and before I was doing things, right, but I wasn't doing them from the place of now. And therefore, like, things were not working out. Things were not going well. And I wasn't seeing the returns that I expected from it. And I think a massive part of it has to do with not being in the now. So I leave you with this question. How often, if you really monitor how you're thinking, are your thoughts in the past or in the future? And how often do you have moments where you're not actually thinking at all? Because those are great indicators of where you're currently at in practicing now, practicing being present, practicing abiding in Christ, abiding in God. So I'll leave you with those questions. Ponder them. Drop me a comment below. I'd love to hear your answers to those questions if you made it especially this far in this video. And I'll be dropping another video in the next 2 weeks. Thanks so much.